Everybody, welcome back. How are you doing? Hopefully you're doing well. This is part 4 of Little Women. We are reading chapters 10, 11, and 12. Are you ready? If you need a drink, go ahead and get one. We'll get right into chapter 10. It's called Spring Ends and Play Begins. The 1st of June. The Kings are off to the seashore tomorrow and I'm free. 3 months of vacation. How I shall enjoy it, exclaimed Meg. Aunt March went today too, said Joe. I was afraid she asked me to go with her. What shall you do all vacation? Asked Amy. I'm going to rest and play to my heart's content, replied Meg. Joe said, I'm going to read in the old apple tree. Let's not do any lessons for a while, Beth. Let's play all the time and rest, proposed Amy. Well, I will, if Mother doesn't mind. I want to learn some new songs, admitted Beth. Maybe, Mother? Asked Meg, as Miss March sat sewing in the corner. You may try your experiment for a week and see how you like it. I think by Saturday night you will all find that all play and no work is as bad as all work and no play. They began by lounging for the rest of the day. Next morning, Meg did not appear till 10 o'clock. The room seemed lonely and untidy. Joe had not filled the vases, Beth had not dusted, and Amy's books lay scattered about. Nothing was neat and pleasant but Marmy's corner. Joe spent the morning on the river with Lori, and the afternoon reading up in the apple tree. Beth went to her music. Amy sat down to draw under the honeysuckle. She got caught in the rain shower and came home dripping. Meg went shopping in the afternoon. At tea time, they met to discuss their day. Meg had discovered her new dress would shrink in the wash. Joe had sunburnt her nose and had a raging headache. Beth was weary from learning 3 or 4 songs at once. Amy deeply regretted the rain damage done to her dress. But these were small troubles, they assured their mother that the experiment was working fine. And I think that's Amy going against the tree there. She smiled and said nothing. With Hannah's help, she did the neglected work. It was amazing how uncomfortable things became. The days got longer and longer. Everyone felt uneasy. Meg spoiled her clothes in her attempts to fancy them up. Joe got so fidgety that even Lori quarreled with her. Beth got on pretty well, for she was constantly forgetting that it was to be all play and no work. Amy fared worst of all. She didn't like dolls. Fairy tales were childish, and one couldn't draw all the time. By Friday night, each was glad the week was nearly done. Hoping to help them learn their lesson more deeply, Miss March gave Hannah a vacation. She wanted the girls to enjoy the full effect of the experiment. When they got up Saturday morning, there was no fire in the kitchen, no breakfast in the dining room. Their mother was nowhere to be seen. Mercy on us! What has happened? Cried Joe. Mother says she's going to stay quietly in her room all day, said Meg, coming downstairs. She says it has been a hard week for her. We must take care of ourselves. She's mad that her and Hannah had to do everything while they just did nothing. It was an immense relief to have a little work. There was plenty of food in the pantry. While Beth and Amy set the table, Meg made breakfast. Joe took a tray up to her mother. The boiled tea was very bitter, the omelet scorched, and the biscuits tough, but Miss March received them with thanks. She laughed heartily after Joe was gone. Many were the complaints below about the awful breakfast. Never mind, I'll get the lunch, said Joe, who knew less than Meg about cooking. With perfect faith in their own powers as a chef, she immediately invited Lori to lunch. Joe walked to the market. She was sure she made very good bargains. She bought a very young lobster, some very old asparagus, and 2 boxes of unripe strawberries. Miss March went out. After peeping here and there to see how matters went, a strange sense of helplessness fell upon the girls as the gray bonnet vanished around the corner. Words cannot describe Jo's attempt at cooking. She boiled the asparagus until the tops fell apart. The bread turned black. She hammered and poked the little lobster and hid the small bits of meat in lettuce leaves. The potatoes were not done. Oh no. Sounds like me trying to cook. It's terrible to spend your whole morning for nothing, thought Jo. She rang the bell half an hour later than usual. One thing after another was tasted and left on the plates. Amy giggled and Meg looked distressed. Lori talked and laughed to give a cheerful tone to the scene. Jo's one strong point was the fruit. She knew she had sugared it well and had a pitcher of rich cream to eat with it. She glanced at Lori. There was a slight pucker around his mouth. Amy took a heaping spoonful, choked, hid her face in her napkin, and left the table quickly. "Oh, what is it?" exclaimed Jo. "Salt instead of sugar, and the cream is sour," replied Meg. Jo uttered a moan and fell back in her chair. She was on the verge of crying when she saw Lori's eyes, which looked merry. The comical side of the affair suddenly struck her, and she laughed till tears ran down her cheeks. The unfortunate lunch ended happily with bread and butter, olives, and fun. As twilight fell, the girls gathered on the porch where the June roses were budding beautifully. Each groaned or sighed as they sat down, as if tired or troubled. "Are you pleased with your experiment, girls?" Mommy asked, as Beth nestled up to her. They each took turns toward Mother with brightening faces as flowers turned toward the sun. "Not me," cried Jo. "Nor I," echoed the others. I'm sorry. There they are, tasting the bad food. You think that it is better to have a few duties and leave a little for others, do you? "Lounging doesn't pay," observed Jo. "I'm tired of it." "Work is wholesome," Mommy said. "It keeps us from mischief, is good for health and spirits, and gives us a sense of independence." "We'll work like busy bees. See if we don't," said Jo. "I'll learn cooking and my next dinner party will be a success." "I'll make a set of shirts for Father. That will be better than fussing over my own things," said Meg. "I'll do my lessons every day and not spend so much time with my music," said Beth. Amy followed their example by declaring, "I shall learn to make buttonholes and attend to my grammar lessons." "Very good. Then I am quite satisfied with the experiment. Rather to have regular hours for work and play, and make each day both useful and pleasant." "We'll remember, Mother," and they did. Alright, are you ready for Chapter 11? It's called A Summer Picnic. Lori invited the March girls to join him on a picnic. Some friends of his from England were visiting, and he hoped to show them a grand time. Jo fell in to tell the news. "Of course we can go, Mother. Lori's tutor, Mr. Brooke, is going as the chaperone. Ned Moffat and Sally Gardner are coming too. I can go, and Meg can see to lunch." "Do you know anything about the English family, Jo?" asked Meg. "Only that there are 4 of them. Katie is older than you. Fred and Frank are twins, and they're about my age. Then there is the little girl Grace, who is 9 or 10. Lori knew them in England." Jo turned to her sister. "You'll come, Bethy. If you won't let any boys talk to me, I'd like to please Lori, and I'm not afraid of Mr. Brooke. He is so kind, but I don't want to play or sing or say anything." "That's my good girl. You do try to fight off your shyness, and I love you for it. Fighting faults isn't easy, as I know. Now let's do double duty today so that we can play tomorrow with free minds," said Jo, picking up a broom. The sun peeped into the girls' room early next morning, and soon a lovely bustle began in both houses. Beth kept looking out the window and reporting what went on next door. "There goes the man with the tent. Now Mr. Lawrence is looking up at the sky. I wish he would go too. There's Lori, looking like a sailor. Oh, here's a carriage full of people. A tall lady, a little girl, and 2 dreadful boys. One is lame, poor thing. He's got a crutch. Be quick, girls. It's getting late." Jo marched straight away to the and the rest followed. There were a bright little band of sisters, all looking their best in summer suits, with happy faces under their bouncy hat brims. Before cell phones and TV, looking out the window was probably very entertaining. Laurie ran to meet the girls and present them to his friends. Meg was grateful to see that Miss Kate was dressed simply. Joe thought Kate had a standoff, don't-touch-me air. Beth decided that the lame boy Frank was not dreadful, but gentle, and she would be kind to him. Amy found Grace a well-mannered, merry little person. After staring at one another for a few minutes, they suddenly became very good friends. The group set off in 2 rowboats, and Fred manned a buoy boat. It was not far to the picnic field. The tent was pitched, and the croquet wickets were down by the time they arrived. "Welcome to Camp Lawrence," said the young host as they landed with exclamations of delight. "Let's have a game before it gets hot, and then we'll see about dinner." Frank, Beth, Amy, and Grace sat down to watch the game played by the other 8. Mr. Brooke chose Meg, Kate, and Fred. Laurie took Sally, Joe, and Ned. The English played well, but the Americans played better. Fred cheated a little, and Joe got angry, but managed to keep her temper. Both Meg and Laurie praised her for it. There they are rowing to their picnic. Sorry about that noise, it's the water pipe from next door. Mr. Brooke, who was Laurie's tutor, had come along to watch over the young crowd. Meg had noticed that he was an intelligent, warm man with handsome brown eyes. Mr. Brooke looked at his watch and announced, "Time for lunch." A very merry lunch it was, for everything seemed fresh and funny. "What shall we do? We can't eat anymore," asked Laurie. "Have games till it's cooler," said Joe. "I dare say Miss Kate knows something new and nice. Go and ask her. She's company and you ought to stay with her more." "Aren't you company too? I thought Kate would suit Brooke, but he keeps talking to Meg." Miss Kate did know several new games. They first tried something called rigmarole. One person began a story and told it as long as they pleased. Then, just as at some exciting point, the next person took over the story. The happy group told the most outrageous and interesting story. Afterward, the elders, Meg, Kate, and Mr. Brooke, sat together on the grass. Miss Kate took out her sketchbook. "I wish I could draw," said Meg. There they are, having fun. "Why don't you run?" returned Miss Kate. "I haven't time. I took a few lessons privately. Can't you do the same with your governess?" "I have none. I am a governess myself." "Oh, indeed," said Miss Kate, but she might as well have said, "Dear me, how dreadful." Mr. Brooke looked up and said quickly, "Young ladies in America are admired and respected for supporting themselves." "Oh yes, of course, it's very nice and proper in America for them to do so," said Miss Kate in a rather rude voice. Mr. Brooke had recently translated a German song for Meg, and he asked her if she had found his work useful. The 2 of them studied a little book of German poetry together. Miss Kate watched them closely, then she shut her sketchbook, saying, "I must look after Grace." She strolled away, adding to herself, "What odd people these Yankees are. I'm afraid Laurie will be quite spoiled among them." "I forget that English people turn up their noses at governesses," said Meg to Mr. Brooke when Kate had left. Governess is like a nanny, I think. "There's no place like America for us workers, Miss Margaret," said Mr. Brooke, looking quite cheerful. I'm glad I live in it then. I only wish I liked teaching as you do." "I think you would if you you had Laurie for a student. I shall be very sorry to lose him next year," said Mr. Brooke. "Going to college, I suppose?" Meg's lips asked that question. Talking too much today. But her eyes added, "And what becomes of you?" "Yes, it's high time he went. As soon as he is off, I shall become a soldier." "I'm glad of it," exclaimed Meg. "I should think every young man would want to go help in the war. Though it is hard for the mothers and sisters who stay at home," she added sorrowfully. "I I have no mother or sisters, said Mr. Brooke in a quiet voice. Roy and his grandfather would care a great deal if you went, and we would all be very sorry to see any harm happen to you, said Meg, looking into those handsome brown eyes. Thank you, returned Mr. Brooke, looking into Meg's eyes and becoming cheerful again. Ooh, are they flirting? I think so. Another game of croquet finished the afternoon. At sunset, the tent was taken down, baskets packed, wickets pulled up, and boats loaded. The whole party floated down the river, singing at the tops of their voices. On the lawn where they had gathered, the little party separated. As the four sisters went home to the garden, Miss Kate looked after them. She said quite smugly, in spite of their strange manners, American girls are very nice when one knows them. I quite agree with you, said Mr. Brooke. And the last chapter for part 4 is chapter 12, and it's called Castles in the Air. Laurie was swinging in his hammock one warm September afternoon when he saw the Marches going out on some journey. Well, that's cool, said Laurie to himself, to have a picnic and never ask me. I'll see what's going on. He topped the hill the girls had climbed and peeped through the bushes. Here's a scene, he said to himself. It was a pretty picture. The sisters sat together in a shady nook, with sun and shadow flickering over them. The wind lifted their hair and cooled their hot cheeks. Meg sat sewing daintily and looking as fresh and sweet as a rose. Beth was sorting pine cones, for she made pretty things with them. Amy was sketching a group of ferns. Jo was knitting as she read aloud. May I come in, please, or shall I be a bother? Laurie asked, advancing slowly. Meg lifted her eyebrows, but Jo scowled at her. She said at once, Of course you may. We should have asked you before, only we thought you wouldn't care for such a girl's game. I always like your games, but if Meg doesn't want me, I'll go away. I don't mind if you do something. It's against the rules to be lazy here. If you want to join the Busy Bee Society, you must be useful, said Meg. Mother likes to have us out of doors as much as possible. We bring our work here and have nice time, said Jo. From this hill we can see far away to the place where we hope to live sometime. Jo pointed and Laurie sat up to examine. Through an opening in the wood, one could look across the wide blue river, far over the outskirts of the great city, to the green hills that rose to meet the sky. The sun was low, and the heavens glowed with the beauty of an autumn sunset. There we are, sitting in the woods, doing their chores together, getting out while they can before the cold comes. How beautiful that is, said Laurie. Wouldn't it be fun if all our dreams and castles in the air could come true, and we could live in them, said Jo. I'd be a famous musician, said Laurie, and I'd never be bothered about money or business. I just enjoy myself and live for what I like. That's my favorite castle. Which is, Meg? Meg found it hard to tell hers. She said slowly, I would like a lovely house full of beautiful things, nice food, pretty clothes, handsome furniture, and heaps of money. How I should enjoy it. Jo said, I want to do something heroic or wonderful that won't be forgotten after I'm dead. I think I shall write books and get rich and famous. That would suit me. So that is my favorite dream. Mine is to stay at home safe and help take care of the family, said Beth with a content smile. Since I have my little piano, I am perfectly satisfied. I only wish we may all keep well and be together. Nothing else. I have ever so many wishes, but my favorite is to be an artist and go to Rome. I'll do fine pictures and be the best artist in the whole world, was Amy's modest desire. Was what they were looking at that pretty view. In 10 years, let's meet and see how many of us have got our wishes, or how much nearer we are than we are now, said Jo. I hope I shall have done something to be proud of by that time. I'm such a lazy dog, Laurie admitted. Grandfather wants me to be a businessman, and I'd rather be shot. Meg said in her most motherly tone, Do your best at college, Laurie, then your grandfather won't be unfair to you. Do your duty, and you'll get your reward by being respected and loved. Good Mr. Brooke has done his duty, and he will be rewarded in some way, I'm sure." "How do you know about Mr. Brooke?" asked Laurie. His black eyes twinkled shyly. Meg blushed. "Only what your grandfather told us about him. He took care of his own mother till she died. Now he helps to support the old woman who nursed his mother. He is just as generous and patient and good as he can be." "So he is, dear fellow," said Laurie heartedly. "It's like Grandpa to find out all about him, and to tell his goodness to others. If ever I do get my wish, you'll see what I do for Brooke." Talking in the woods. Laurie squeezed Meg's kind little hand. To show he was not offended by her lecture, he wound yarn for her. Then he recited poetry to please Joe, shook down cones for Beth, and helped Amy with her ferns. In all, he proved himself well fit for the Busy Bee Society. That night, when Beth played the piano for Mr. Lawrence, Laurie watched the old man who sat with his gray head on his hand. The boy said to himself, "I'll let my castle go and stay with the dear old gentleman while he needs me. I am all he has." That's the end of part 4. I hope you're liking it so far. Stay tuned for part 5. We're about halfway through the book, and it's just getting good. We'll see you next time. Be good out there, okay?